You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host, Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts, Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
You are listening to The Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, August 28th show. You can listen to the show on podcast, Facebook, or YouTube channel. I'm your co-host, Keelan Harvey, riding solo again. Tina's out, but the show continues. It must go on, as Kai would say. It's a great day to talk about money so you can build a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but we are here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests we have on the show today. For more information on any topics discussed, please call the show at 855-400-1150 or visit us online at themoneyhour.com. And now on our show, Kai Roberts-Fu of Magnus Media Group video production. That's a mouthful. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that. Sorry, Kai. Using video to connect to your ideal client. Kai, welcome to the show again.
Well, thank you for having me. Funny story, the Magnus Media, we became Magnus Media Group Video Production as Magnus Media is owned by a very famous singer who I will not name. We used to get calls to see if he could come perform at their children's birthday parties. So we added the name.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just me. Don't worry about that. I mean, everybody else can say it fine, I'm sure. It's just me. So a little bit about Kai. Roberts-Fu is a cat herder and chief of Magnus Media. I love that, by the way, a cat herder. Magnus Media Group Video Production. As half of the two-person company she runs with her spouse, Grant Fu. Kai's many roles include video editor, writer, on-camera talent, and production manager. Kai holds a BA in sociology from Washington University in St. Louis. As part of her lifelong commitment to social justice, she currently serves as the chair of DEI Task Force for Washington Society of Association Executives and on the DEI Committee for Women Business Owners. Her company is the video sponsor for the NAACP of Seattle King Counties. In her free time, Kai can be found working out, writing, gardening, attempting to speak French, love that, and reading anything that might give her an advantage, playing Jeopardy. So cool. Are you a big Jeopardy fan, Kai?
I am a huge Jeopardy fan. Yes. I'm very sad they're on hiatus right now.
I know. What's going on? It is fun. It is a fun show. I'm not good at it, but I try. So Kai, how did you get into video production?
Well, my background is in performance. So I was a dance teacher, a stage performer, not a singer, just going to make sure everybody gets that. I never get asked to sing. And then I've been doing administration for 20 years. So with that degree in sociology, I wound up in admin, which makes me very good at organizing things. So the video production side, the production management side, the admin is very helped by, and the video editing side, my dancing and stage performance background really comes into that.
You're such a performer. That's so cool. So you can tie everything together, and you've been on all ends of it, so you know how it should look and what should happen. So that's awesome. How does video uniquely help a business connect with their ideal client, you feel, these days?
Well, especially these days, when so many times we used to network and connect with our ideal clients in person, the next best thing after that is video. Photos are great, words are fine, but when you have video, you can see someone's expressions, you can hear the sound of their voice, you can make an emotional, visceral connection to someone via video that you just can't get in any other format except in person. And video can increase conversion rates up to 80%. So people that have video on their websites are much more likely to have people stick around and actually make a connection and reach out to buy or join an organization.
Yeah, now, and it's getting worse too, right? As generations go on, our attention span is going down. I don't think anybody reads anything anymore. Like if you don't have a video, you're not really with the times. And there's so much more. We're human beings. We see, we touch, we feel, we smell. But like you make with your eyes, you make a bunch of assumptions about that. And there's so much information passed with a video subconsciously. That's huge. What are some of the types of business that especially benefit from video in your experience that you work with?
Well, we particularly work with small businesses, and I find the kinds of businesses that really benefit are those where the name of what they do may not really explain what they do. As an example, I have a colleague who does fundraising events, and she only does fundraising events. And she used to get calls all the time for the weddings, the birthday parties, the corporate events. And she's like, no, this is all I do. And so we made her a video. And she explained in that video what she does do, what she doesn't do. We did examples of events that she had produced. And not only did she have to stop, she didn't have to keep explaining herself so much, but she said she also got her biggest client to date after they saw her video and said that she seems so much more professional than her competition. And that is why they hired her.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can't tell you how many businesses that you see a name and you're like, what is that? Like, what do you guys do? And passing that message along. What are some of the obstacles that keep people from taking advantage of the power of video, do you think? Like, what's holding these people back?
The number one thing is fear of being on camera.
Yeah.
I understand that because when I got into this business, you asked how I got into it. I started 12 years ago. My husband and business partner has been doing this for much longer than that. And he's like, hey, you'd be a great spokesperson. I'm like, wait, what? I'm a dancer. We don't talk. So he put me on camera and I had to get used to being on camera. So when people say I'm terrified to be on camera, I like the way I look, I don't like the way the sound. I have done a lot of research. I can show you why, and that it's totally normal to feel uncomfortable on camera, to not like the way you sound. But then it's important to know that however you appear to yourself, other people usually like the way you look and sound. They feel when they watch a video, that is how you look and sound. And part of that's just the whole mirror thing. People who are used to Zoom now know how much more comfortable you feel when you put yourself on mirror image. We're used to seeing ourselves in the mirror, and other people are used to seeing us, straight on, regular, across the room. I'm getting a little too technical. But we understand that people are uncomfortable on camera. And so we do our best to help them rehearse ahead of time, but not too rehearsed, so it sounds natural. And of course, when you hire a video production company, you get to do multiple takes. If you're doing a Facebook Live and it's actually live, you get that one shot. That's it, you're done. But when you have a professional editor, you can do 15 takes and we'll pick the best one, or we'll string the best few together. So it really takes the pressure off the person who's on camera.
Yeah, and people are too hard on themselves, don't you think? Like, and very critical of themselves. I know I was. I've been on the show for a couple of years now, but when I first came on, I would pick myself apart. It's very easy to do that. And then you kind of get to a place where it's like, who cares? And then you get some feedback from people where they're like, that was great. And you're like, oh, it was? Because you're just being too hard on yourself. So that's a very valuable point. What are some of the things you think, Kai, to consider when deciding to do like a DIY video versus hiring a professional to do it?
There is a lot of room in our world for DIY video. And as I mentioned in the earlier segment, we've opened up a lot to providing people tech support and consulting on how to make their own. But when it comes to, say, and those are great for LinkedIn, Facebook, any social media, anything that is short-lived. However, when it comes to your website, to your home page video that introduces you to people, I strongly recommend that the video be done professionally. You want it to be high resolution, flawless audio. You don't want any camera shake because someone's shooting, holding an iPhone out like this. It needs to, if you are a professional business, your homepage needs to reflect that professionalism, and therefore so does your homepage video.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a first impression, right? People get an interpretation of what your business is. If you have this shaky video that's poorly done or just kind of rambling on, or, not concise, because that's a message, and you're the artist as a professional, Kai. So, don't try to do that on your own. We always say hire out for something, hire out an expert for things that you're not an expert in. And so that's why you need to call Kai and get yourself lined up and get yourself looking good for your business, because you can only get a first impression once, as they say, right?
Absolutely. So, if I can just tag on to that, you mentioned the brevity and the attention span. For a person to get their message across in the 2 minutes or less, that is kind of the average attention span of people on this kind of video, it's really difficult. So with video, with a edited video, we can layer things. We can do graphics and B-roll and the person's voice and face, and layer all of that to get a lot more image and impressions out to people in those 2 minutes or less before your average viewer kind of loses interest.
Yeah, and it's not easy to do. I mean, that's so hard in that amount of time. It flies by to pick and choose what's going to be impactful or better. And those transitions, that's that artist touch that we're referring to that you have, Kai, where you can kind of know how to be concise, but also look great. So, I mean, don't take that on for yourself. What are there some insider tips that you can share to help people get the most out of video recording sessions, maybe efficiency or anything, quite frankly?
Well, okay, yes. One of the first ones, it has to do with knowing your material. We have teleprompters, but I highly recommend that everybody rehearse what they're going to say before they get on that prompter, because in order to look natural, you have to know the material. The prompter is just there for a little spark of your memory. One a lot of people might not think of is don't wear green on a green screen. I'm a redhead. I would wear green all the time, but anytime we use a green screen, it would actually key you out. So if I was wearing green on a green screen, this whole jacket would like disappear like my hands do when I do this on Zoom. There,
Yeah.
it always happens by accident. Now it's not happening on purpose. And then besides that, it's the big importance is pre-production to get a really good video and a more relaxing, less stressful video shoot. Plan ahead. Your videographer should go through the whole day with you, the things you might say, the shots they want to get, so that when we get there on site with our cameras and our microphones, we know what's happening, you know what's happening, and we can shoot it through several times if needed. But at least we're going to know ahead of time what's going on, and so are you, and that's how you get a really good finished product.
Yeah, and imagine the time that saves people overall too. You try to do this stuff on your own. You guys have it down to a science. So you come in there, it's concise. Here's what we're doing, scene. And so, I mean, time is money, people. Make sure you get a professional out there just to get it done for you. Why kick it around? And if you did it on your own too, I would imagine you redo it like a bunch. And, at some point you're going to pay for it anyway. So just do it right from the beginning. Kai, what are ways nonprofits can take advantage of the power of video? And I know we talked about this a little bit before and your passion behind the nonprofit. So I want to make sure to specifically mention that.
Definitely. There has been a huge shift in fundraising from these big in-person events that have a pretty high, hard cost. You got to rent a venue. There's going to be food. There's going to be, people are spending a couple $100s on their outfits and their dinner that they could spend on your charity. So when you move your virtual fundraiser online, though, you still need content. You need to have video to show people what you do. And depending on the virtual fundraiser or the organization, some of that can be recorded by the people involved. And sometimes you want to bring professionals in to really get that message. In an in-person event, you've got a captive audience. They'll sit there 5-10 minutes to watch a long form video about who you are and why you matter and why people should give you money. On Zoom, you've got maybe 5 minutes. So again, that professional ability to say a lot in a short amount of time can really boost a nonprofit's ability to raise the funds they need.
Yeah, that's huge. We're down to 1 minute. What are some of the ways that your company's adapting? I think this is important for people to understand how they can use you in this time with the pandemic. How do you continue to serve your clients despite these shutdowns? We've
come up with creative ways to do videos with a very small cast. For instance, we had a financial advisor who had 10 people in his office before COVID, and we shot it with him and some pictures of me over the back, so I didn't really show on camera. So he could do his office, but we didn't go beyond the allowed number of people in a room at the same time. We just, whatever it takes to get a video done for a client, whatever the current restrictions are, we will figure it out.
Well, that's another great point you just brought up too. You guys know those rules and things that don't get you in trouble or put you in a bad light. So that's big too. Well, Kai, thank you so much for your time today and all your invaluable information. I really appreciate it so much. And we'll have you on again.